Good morning, or evening, or something. Good whatever time it is when you're watching this. This is part 5 of the House on Mango Street review. We're going to cover the themes in pages 56 through 73, so read or listen to those pages before you watch this video, or else this video won't make much sense. This section deals with issues of gender and on the various expectations different people around Esperanza need to live up to. The first vignette of this section deals with Esperanza's first blush with mortality. Her father tells her that her grandmother has died. That's what abuelita means, grandma. That's a big subject to tackle, but it's a common experience that many of us have. Anyone who has lost a grandparent or other loved one while still very young can relate to the powerlessness and confusion you feel when faced with the finality of death. And, like Esperanza, many of us have followed the train of thought to its natural conclusion. One day, our parents or other loved ones will eventually die. What a bizarre topic for a puppet to lecture on. Esperanza's job is to fill in the younger kids. She knows this, and she's aware enough of the seriousness of the situation to readily take on the job of keeping her younger siblings quiet while the family is in mourning. It's not long before Esperanza has another encounter with mortality. Her Aunt Lupe has passed away, and Esperanza is devastated because she's terrified that in some mystical way her own behavior is connected to it. Aunt Lupe was yet another powerless woman on Mango Street, but for different reasons. She was ill for a long time, and her husband and children needed to take care of her. Esperanza had a habit of going to visit. She would take her friends over as well. One day, they were goofing around, like kids do, and they were imitating Lupe just for a laugh. Then they found out that Lupe had passed away. Esperanza is mortified by this, and blames herself for the sick woman's death, even though all she did was make fun of her with her friends when nobody was around, not even Lupe. Maybe she should feel guilty, but maybe not. I wasn't visiting the sick to read to them when I was her age. I would think very highly of any young person that used their free time for such a thing. Before Lupe's death, Esperanza read some of her poetry that she had written. Lupe tells Esperanza, "That's nice. That's very good. You just remember to keep writing, Esperanza. You must keep writing. It will keep you free." It's a small bit of dialogue, and Esperanza says herself that she doesn't know what it means. But this is very important. We'll come back to it in just a minute. With the loss of 2 family members, Esperanza seems to be contemplating the spiritual world a little bit more. She goes to visit Elenita, a fortune teller. She pays $5 for a tarot reading, where special cards are used to divine the future. She sees right through Elenita's show, though, and doesn't buy the tarot reading at all. The whole scene feels fake and ridiculous. They're using a Schlitz beer giveaway mug as a crystal ball, and Esperanza is distracted by a Bugs Bunny cartoon in the next room. Hardly a mystical experience. When she talks about a house, the one thing Esperanza has focused on more than anything else, she's given the answer, "A home in the heart." Esperanza doesn't know what that means, and neither do I. It's intentionally vague. That's what fortune tellers do. They say vague things that you are left to interpret to mean whatever you want. That way, you can pick something that really happens that the fortune might have meant and tell yourself that it was not a complete waste of your time and money. But let's contrast Elenita with Lupe here for just a minute. There's a lot to unpack, but I'll keep it kind of brief. Lupe told Esperanza that writing was going to keep her free. Esperanza didn't ask Lupe for any fortune or advice, and didn't even understand the comment. But there was more truth in Lupe's comment than in what Esperanza paid $5 to hear from Elenita. Lupe is telling Esperanza essentially, I see you, you love to write, you're good at writing, and you want to escape from Mango Street. Use your writing to make your own way out of here. Elenita, on the other hand, is telling Esperanza whatever she wants to hear so that Esperanza will feel like she got her $5 worth. Pretty interesting, huh? To bring it to our theme, I'll just point out that the truth comes to Esperanza in an unexpected place. Sometimes, our expectations are subverted. Meanwhile, Marin finds herself being expected to provide a lot of information about a young man that she just met. It sounds like they were having a pretty good time. Well, at least they were until he got hit by a car. Nobody knew where he lived or worked or where he was from. Nobody but Geraldo. And Geraldo just died. Esperanza thinks about Geraldo's family, back in whatever place he came from. They'll have no way to find out what happened to him. What a grim conclusion, huh? So now we're going to hit another one of Esperanza's wild tonal shifts and talk about Ruthie. I think Ruthie sounds pretty great. From the sounds of it, she's someone who is unable to provide for themselves. I think she probably lives with some kind of developmental disability or mental illness, and isn't able to be independent for reasons that are out of her control. I think Esperanza still expects Ruthie to be a full-fledged adult, even though she's clearly different. Ruthie is different, though. She acts young, and she says things that don't make sense, and she gives some pretty thin excuses to explain why she can't do the things that she is expected to be able to do, like read, or move out of her mother's house. Esperanza is very kind, though, and just accepts Ruthie for who she is. Another grown-up that doesn't meet expectations is Earl, the jukebox repairman. Earl has a cool job and a cool hat. Everybody seems to think Earl is married, but nobody can agree on what his wife looks like. And nobody's ever seen her. They've just seen Earl coming and going with a lady. So he's got to be married, right? He's a nice man and he gives the kids records. So the lady he's with must be his wife, right? They assume she's his wife, but what do you think? I think Earl is a pretty popular guy, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. I guess this guy Sire is pretty popular too. Esperanza seems to like him quite a bit. But her parents don't. They think he's a troublemaker. It sounds like he's out late with his friends, drinking beer and having a good old time. I'm gonna guess that Sire's probably not old enough to drink beer legally. Esperanza's fallen for a bad boy, though, and she gets butterflies when they make eye contact. But then she talks about Sire's girlfriend. With her painted toenails, her delicate smell, and her nice skin, it sounds like she's a very girly girl. Esperanza's mother thinks that she's, what do you kids call it? A thought? You know, those kinds of girls are the ones that go into alleys, Esperanza's mother says. Esperanza doesn't understand what her mother means, but I imagine it's not too hard to figure out what it's implying they do in the alley. So, here's your reflection question for this section. It's about both gender and expectations. We've all had expectations placed on us because of our gender. I want you to think about what is expected of you because you're a boy or a girl, and pick out something about those expectations that you particularly dislike. Tell me what it is, and tell me why you resent the expectation. For example, I really hate how boys are not supposed to be open with their emotions. It can lead to some pretty unhealthy behavior, and there's no harm in being open in how you feel among people you trust. Anyway, I'm looking forward to reading your thoughts and experiences. See you soon!